The purpose of this video is to show you how to install your new MAFEX Ultra-Low Volume Applicator. We're going to set it up using the optional rolling stand and flow sensor, and we'll do a complete setup with the atomizer and the controller, and also show you how to use it. The first step is to take the base of the rolling stand and install the wheels. It would have come with 4 wheels and all the bolts. So we'll put the 2 wheels with the brakes on them at the back here, because what's going to happen is we'll set up the machine, and this part will be able to roll underneath the table, and this part you'll still be able to access to apply the brakes. The next step is to set the main pump box and tanks onto the frame. So it comes with 4 L brackets that I've already mounted on here. If you don't get the rolling stand, you can use these L brackets as well to mount this to a wall or whatever. But it comes with the L brackets and the bolts. So again, because this is the back side and this is going underneath the table, we'll install it the way we can see it. So that just slides onto there. There are 2 wires coming out of the side of the pump box. The bottom one has the flat connectors on here to connect to our flushing pump. Be sure to match up the positive and negative correctly, and they just slide on there. The second wire has bare ends on it, and this is used if we're going to take advantage of the relay system to tie it into the table, for example. We'll go into the details of that a little bit, but basically the relay can accept any signal between 12 and 240 volts, AC or DC. We have to change one setting inside the pump box to use this. Normally speaking, we would put an AC plug on here and plug it into the table. The next step is to install the bracket that's going to hold the hood that's going over the table. So this is adjustable height, so we can set it to whichever height is needed for our table. Next, we slide the hood onto the bracket. We've got a telescopic piece here, so we can slide it. If we can't reach in as far over the table, you can slide it out a bit further. Once we have the hood installed on the bracket, we're going to install the atomizer onto the hood. There's a central hole for mounting the atomizer. We're going to use a rubber damper to minimize the vibrations from the spinner. So this will just go right into the central point. The atomizer itself is threaded, and it threads right onto this bolt. Now there's also a larger hole here where we can thread the wiring through. Okay, once we've got the atomizer installed, we're going to run the hoses to the atomizer. Now there's going to be 2 hoses going up, one from the pump box itself, and then one from our flush tank here. So we supplied a hose for the flush tank that has a one-way valve installed in it already. Please pay attention to the arrow on that beige valve. We want that arrow to be going towards the atomizer, otherwise no flush water will be able to reach the atomizer. So these two hoses will go up side by side, and then we're going to join them together in your package with your atomizer. You've got this little Y piece here. So from the pump and from the flush are going to go into either side of this Y, and then this hose piece here is going to go onto the atomizer itself. You can string this through any way you want. As you're stringing the hoses, shorten them up as much as you can. The shorter they are, the quicker the whole system will fill up with liquid and it will start spraying. And also, if we're using the flow sensor, if there's no extra loops, there's no places where air bubbles can get caught or anything like that. So we'll string both these hoses through into this Y piece and make sure that the one-way valve is pointing the correct direction. Okay, so now we have the hoses installed and shortened. The two hoses coming up, one from the pump, one from the flush tank, and then they're joining together on a Y and going into the atomizer. Next we'll run the cable to the atomizer. You'll have got this cable in your package. It connects to the atomizer's connectors here. And then we're going to run it down into the pump box. There are two places to hook up atomizers underneath the pump box. If you just have a one atomizer system, you're going to use only one of them, of course. If once we start operating, we are having an alarm that's saying atomizer alarm, probably we connected to the wrong one of those two connectors. So the first thing to try in that case is to hook it up to the other connector on the bottom here. So once we've got the atomizer wired in, if you've gotten the optional flow sensor, that's what we'll put in line next. There's another spot underneath that pump box to hook up the flow sensor. There's only one spot to hook that up. Your model of flow sensor will look different depending on which model of MAFEX machine you have. Normally speaking, we're going to bolt this on top of the spray hood. It doesn't matter which way the liquid flows through the flow sensor, but it does matter that we have continuity. So normally speaking, the best way to do this is to make sure that the liquid is flowing uphill through the flow sensor to a high point and then down to the atomizer. If we're flowing downhill to an atomizer, what will happen is we'll get continuity problems because the liquid will just flow through too quickly to make contact. So it's best to be pushing uphill. There are many mount points on the spray hood to bolt this, and we want to put this in line in the pump hose, not in the flush hose, of course. So before the Y, somewhere in the line of the pump hose, we'll cut the hose and put this in between, and then bolt this one in the bottom. Now that we have the atomizer and, if needed, the flow sensor wired in, we'll wire the control box to the pump box. The control box comes with a mounting bracket and bolts, so you can put that anywhere. It comes with a 5-meter cable, so you can put it wherever it's convenient for you. This cable is double-ended. It doesn't matter which way it's connected, and of course it only fits in one way. So I'll hook that up. This cut out in case. The last thing to connect is the power supply itself. The power supply connects to the control box and the only other connector available. So now that we have everything wired up, we'll try out the machine. Just hit the power button to start it up. Okay, she's running. It gives us two readings here. The total volume, which is a resettable number. This will just be a cumulative thing that you can reset per trailer, per hour, per day, whatever you like. And the flow rate is adjustable. Just using the flow rate buttons, we can bring that up or down. You can see this one is set in milliliters per hour, and we can also set that in ounces. Please make sure that your dealer sets it according to how you like. For flushing the system, we just hit the flush button. That's going to shoot water through the atomizer. Do that for 2 or 3 seconds before you stop for lunch or something, especially if you're working with a sticky product. That'll keep the atomizer from gumming up. And let's say we do have an issue, so I'll just start this up. If we have a flow issue, or if we have an atomizer issue, you're going to hear an alarm. It'll sound like this. So it's pretty loud. It should let you know right away, so you're not applying product onto a moving line. One of the last things to look at is the pump itself. It's a peristaltic pump, and I'll just take it out for a second. The peristaltic pump has settings on it that are set for the size of hose that we're using here. If we're having problems with suction, this is the first thing that we would check. If you're not sure what size hose you have in your system, please talk with your dealer and set the pump accordingly. Okay, so this pump just pops onto the axle there. And the hose sits on top of those rollers. There's 2 V's where the hose has to sit in. Please make sure that the hose is centered there, and then clamp down the top. If the top's not clamped down, it's not going to pump. Also, conversely, if you're not using the machine for a period of time, releasing the tension on the pump will greatly increase the lifespan of that hose as well. So when we're running the machine, those rollers are pushing on the hose. I'll show you here. Now you can see those rollers are squeezing product through the hose. So if it's properly clamped down, it will be holding suction and putting the product through. So once we have everything wired and all the hoses connected, and we've tested the machine and everything is set up properly, the last thing we're going to do is put on the curtain. The curtain is supplied in a size big enough to go around the entire hood, so we can use this edging to clamp it in place. So all you do is just take the edging off, lay the curtain over the edge, and then apply the edging. Work your way around the hood and just clamp it down, and set this according to the height recommended by your dealer. Depending on your table width, we may adjust the height to get the right spray pattern from the atomizer. So please make sure about that and set this accordingly.